Hello, my beautiful friends, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Eclipse season. We are here. We are beginning this eclipse season with a new moon partial solar eclipse in Taurus. And this is an eclipse season. This will be the first of two. The second one will be a full moon, total lunar eclipse in Scorpio, happening in a couple of weeks in mid-May. But we're starting off here with this beautiful, beautiful energy in Taurus. I'm really excited to explore it with you. And, first off, before we get into the details, I just want to say that eclipse seasons happen every 6 months. They are natural. They are this cyclical, flowing thing that is just inherently a part of living life in this little solar system on this planet. It's always been there. It's been this connective thing that's happened for a long, long time. And for me, I just want to set the tone of eclipse season. This is not a time that needs to be frazzled and scary and stressful and like we're going to get shocking news and we're going to get abandoned. A lot of times I think the way that we kind of think about and are taught about eclipses, this is a time where we get our fear and our defenses kind of prepared for this time of year, which is really intense when you think about having to do that every 6 months, be afraid of an eclipse season, be prepared for it to be just this raw, horrible, emotional, spiritual healing journey or something like that. For me, these are just these natural cyclical things, imagining these spheres, having these conversations, flowing around with each other, lining up sometimes in special, cool ways. This is beautiful. It's symbolic. It's about renewal. It's also about just like taking the time to catch up with ourselves, to hear ourselves, to notice, how we're growing, how we're changing, to welcome and accept and love on the ways that we are transforming and changing, because eclipses essentially are about shedding a skin, exfoliating a little bit, getting in touch, clearing away any energy that is just kind of feeling heavy, clunky, or like we don't really need it with us anymore. And I think Taurus energy, working with Taurus energy in general, is going to be very nourishing, very healing, very supportive, very loving, very benefic, wants the best for our human experience here in the physical, in our bodies. Because Taurus is a Venus-ruled sign that is about the physical experience of beauty in this life from all the senses, and is also about really being okay with who we are and how we are without having to run around frazzled about it. I also think that this Taurus solar eclipse is so interesting, which, by the way, it's not really going to be a big visible event for the vast majority of the world. So this is going to be just something we'll be feeling on April 30th. I think it's so cool that it's happening on April 30th. I'm sure many of you know, but this date in the year, in like the pagan calendars of Northern Europe, is a special date. It is a date of bonfires and celebration and the renewal of spring. I know in the British Isles it is Beltane. Over here in the more Germanic speaking corner of the world, it is known as Walpurgis night. Here in Sweden where I live, this is known as Valborgs mässoafton. And these are bonfire nights where big fires are lit and there's this celebration, the welcoming of May. And years ago, I went to a Beltane celebration in Edinburgh. If you happen to be in Edinburgh, you probably already know about this, or if you ever plan on going, it is so beautiful. It's so amazing. They do it on this amazing hill. And they go through the story of Beltane, which is the story of the Green Man and the May Queen. And the May Queen to me is the Empress. It's the Empress energy. So the story here with this Beltane celebration is that there is the May Queen who's been underground. She has been hanging out in the underworld for some months. She is coming to life here on the evening of the 30th. And she's coming up from underground. She is ready to get into it. She is ready to go. She's very empowered. She meets up with the Green Man. And the Green Man is this very ancient, primal, beautiful, pagan kind of symbol of the natural leafy world. I mean, I'm probably not giving it justice, but he represents that. He gets very overgrown by the end of winter, by the time we get to the end of April. And so the May Queen actually sacrifices the Green Man cuts away all his old overgrowth and resurrects him. And then they get married and celebrate with all the birds and animals, you know, a healthy relationship, that classic love story. But, you know, the symbolism here is very Christ-like. It's very much about the death and resurrection that happens in the creative process, in the natural world. And I just find that it's so amazing to have a solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus on the night of this symbolically cyclical kind of natural evolution of like who we are as we shed a skin, as we watch one version of ourselves go and another one rising up. This is a very potent night of renewal and coming to life. And I just want to point out too, the big aspect here with this solar eclipse is going to be that the sun and moon are at 10 degrees of Taurus, and they're very close to Uranus, which is at 14 degrees of Taurus. So Uranus is interested in things outside of the same old circuitry. Uranus wants to see what happens when we try something a little different, when we disrupt a pattern, when we say, this is a pattern, this is how this has been done for a long time. What happens if we turn it on its side? What happens if we paint with this color? It's a very curious energy. I know Uranus gets a bad rap for being, once again, traumatic, stressful, destructive. And I'm sure that's an aspect of it. However, if we really want to work with Uranus's energy in a way that is helpful, nourishing, curious, we want to get curious about what creative pathways are trying to open up in us. So this eclipse is going to really be about getting curious about the circuitry we are no longer wanting to carry. Some of the keynotes that I have are stepping out of the old circuitry, letting go of this kind of idea we have of this is just who I am. This is just who I am. This is just how it has to be done. All the rules that we create for ourselves as far as who we think we're allowed to be, how we think we're allowed to be. This is a great time to just reflect on that and where we've kind of put some oppressive rules on ourselves and weighed ourselves down. And then also the final thing is just finding greater peace with who we truly are, what we truly desire, what we truly long for, what truly gives us joy and warmth and a feeling of expansiveness. And that doesn't have to be some kind of insane, billionaire's vision board, because most of us aren't interested in that. And I don't know why the marketing companies have decided that that's what we're interested in. Like our longings are going to be pure, and they're going to just, a lot of them are really simple. And I'm not saying everybody's, but a lot of them are very simple longings. So one of the visuals that came to me when I was thinking through these messages and the way Uranus is here and just this eclipse and the May Queen and all of this great, juicy, beautiful Empress-based resurrection energy, what it made me think about is like if we had a basket on our backs filled with stones, and they're stones that have been accumulating the last 6 months or maybe more, maybe years and years of our lives. We've been putting these stones in our basket. Some of the stones are about, this is who I am in my social group. People know that I am the social one, or the one that they can vent to, or the one that's always available. We put that stone in our basket. We say, this is who I am in my life. I am this type of creative, or I am this type of hard worker, or I am just incapable of doing this thing, even though I really want to do it, but I'm not allowed to start. We put that stone in our basket. We come up with a rule about how hard we have to be on ourselves about certain projects, certain deadlines, certain ways of showing up. We put that stone in our basket. That basket starts to get really heavy. It starts to be full of all these rules and obligations, many of which we've kind of devised for ourselves. And then in turn, people do start to expect certain things from us because they're like, well, that's always who you've said you are. And then we feel extra heavy, weighed down. We have to keep doing things this way because we said this was the rule. We said this is who I am. We said this is how it has to be done. And it starts to feel really heavy. It just feels like even when I hear my longing, I don't even want to go for it because I am just tired. So this solar eclipse is about just taking that basket off of our shoulders, putting it on the ground, and looking through the pieces in there, looking through those rocks, noticing which ones feel true, which ones feel important, which ones are just pressure. They're just heavy. They're holding us, right? And allowing them to go, allowing them to be pulled out of that basket, free to join the earth with the other stones to do their thing. This is a really great time to, ask questions. A lot of times we'll be like, well, this isn't the skill set that people know me for, so this is the only skill set I'm allowed to do. This is the way people know me in my relationships. This is the only way I'm allowed to communicate. We have so many rules for who we have to be. And so many rules for this is who I am and this is how it's got to be. And this eclipse just gives us a chance to give some perspective. I also think, a lot of these stones in our basket that we're carrying around, they're a part of our nervous system and our mind. Our physical body's also keeping the score. That's a really great book, The Body Keeps the Score, if you're interested in trauma and the nervous system. But our body keeps the score of things that have happened to us. Our mind keeps the score. It's trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us safe long enough to get to our longings, to get to our dreams, to get to that joyful experience, except that in trying to do that, it's actually keeping us really locked up. So the other part of this is as we kind of maybe release like some of these heavy expectations we put on ourselves, let some of them go, review, just, clear out the cupboard a little bit. We are also going to notice during this eclipse that resurrection, that May Queen coming up from underground, that is about those longings, that is about those dreams, that is about that hopeful, curious, playful energy that for me is a big part of Taurus energy. It's about enjoying life. It's about the things that really give us deep, deep joy. For me, sitting outside in the forest for many, many hours, that's what I'm interested in, or reading a book, or just sitting quietly is something that for me is one of my favorite things in the world. It's like everything else is a distraction from that for me in a lot of ways. Most things are. And that for me, that's my longing. That's a big part of who I am. That's something that I can't, I don't need to be fighting against so much. And so for me, that's an example. Here are some questions that came up as I was exploring this. Is it possible that this rule, this expectation, this container that I have around myself needs to be here in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to feel that I am a life force and that I'm moving through the world and that I have the resources I need? Is it necessary? Is it doing the job that it claims to be doing? Next question. What is the longing in my heart that is asking for creative expression, change, shift, conversation, nurturance? What can I no longer ignore in my longings? This is an important part of that renewal, rebirth, Taurus-based kind of wisdom that can come up through our physical bodies as actual information. This is a great solar eclipse to be checking in with your body and any feedback it is giving you, from tension to curious butterflies to anything in between. Final question with this that came up for me. Why do I cut myself off? And why do I feel I must make myself small, held, and rigid in order to be allowed to have my longing? Not every one of us is going to have that as a pattern, but a lot of us are going to have, we long for something so much. We long for that creative outlet. We long to be seen as an artist, or we long to have that security, or we long to connect with a partner or a friend group or whatever. And then we feel like we need to control ourselves into that longing. And it's, there's a benefic side to that desire to keep us safe and keep us going is in essence a loving force, but it's a little misdirected. And so this is a great time to release some of that tension and open into it. I'm shuffling my cards here. We'll see what wants to come out. Six of Pentacles. Interesting. I want to pull another card. I find Six of Pentacles is a great card to work with in context with some other cards. Eight of Swords. Oh, goodness. Okay. This is really interesting. It's a really interesting combo. Really, really rich combo. One thing I want to say before I get into these cards, that it's not in alignment with this new moon solar eclipse, but Venus and Jupiter are conjunct in Pisces during this eclipse, and they're very close to Neptune. Like I said, they're not aspecting the solar eclipse, but they are having a conversation during this time. And I know a lot of times this kind of floaty Piscean energy, especially Neptune and Jupiter, people are like, watch out. You can't trust yourself. You might get confused. It's very, it's about illusions and things like that. But this is a grounded new moon and solar eclipse. This is a time we can trust ourselves. So the dreaming and the feeling is valid. You can go into the solar eclipse trusting yourself. We can trust ourselves to explore who we are becoming and feel through what is coming up during this beautiful solar eclipse. And I just want to throw that out there, that we are allowed to dream, we're allowed to float, we're allowed to explore, and it's okay to have actually an easy time and a nice time and a loving time during an eclipse. Just going to put that out there. And I'm going to be doing an activation over on my Patreon where we're going to just like help ourselves get into our body, feel through it, feel safe, and hear what heavy stones we have in a loving way and release the weight. So I'm really looking forward to that. But let's get into these cards. So 2 quite potent, rich cards, and they both are important. They are both important. For me, the 6 of Pentacles. This is about the safety of feeling held in the cycle of things, right? This is a card that's about, when you look, everything's going in a circle. 6 is a number of like home and creativity and fertility and all these things. And Pentacles, of course, earthy realness. And for me, this is about the natural flow of energy, like that life force moving through in us. We are it. It's moving through, and trusting into that a little bit more. So, sometimes this will show up as asking for help or asking for a friend to be there for us. Sometimes this will show up as us wanting to offer something to the world, wanting to offer up something beautiful that we've created or that we want to give and share with others. So 6 of Pentacles is about trusting ourselves more, actually. It goes right into that message. Trusting that we can receive and we can give in just a typical day and a typical week in our relationships and our community, in ways that we trust. And when we need to rest, we can rest. Also, that if things are coming to an end at this time, or you are going through a season of transition, which I am definitely in that, just kind of trusting like it's going to be okay, even if we don't have all the ingredients of the next season of life. We feel kind of like certain things are falling away and we don't really know what's next. The 6 of Pentacles is a soother here to let us know that we are in a process. We're in a cyclical, natural process that's holding us. Now, 8 of Swords. This card to me is about the haunted house in our minds. And it's a card that for me is important not to skip over or just try to force to end and be like, I'm just going to get away from this. I think the thing with 8 of Swords when it shows up, this is our worried mind. This is our self-protector. This is the one that wants the control of all the next right steps. And this part of our brain is great. It understands linear time. It understands, it can look at a task list and be like, need to get this done. It can really help us be in this world with calendars and stuff like that. It does have a role and it can help us. However, it's got limited scope. And the 8 of Swords is kind of like when we've let that linear time worried mind, worried voice, get right up there and be the leader of the pack. One of the best ways to work with this energy is to write it down. Watch it, explore it, see what it's saying, what it's telling you. For me, this 8 of Swords, thinking back to the image of the stones on our backs that we're carrying. For me, the 8 of Swords also represents that as well. The rules, the rigidities, the prisons in our mind that we carry with us. The more that we learn to see these as things that are trying to help us, protect us, organize things, and let them be expressed and explored and get curious about, the less they hold us captive. And that is why the Eight of Swords, while I know it's like people are going to see that and say, Sarah, it's eclipse season, you're showing me an Eight of Swords, how is that going to be chill or relaxed or loving? What I'm saying is the Eight of Swords is reflecting that if we have those worry circuits, we have those heavy stones in our bag, this is our opportunity to make sure we are taking care of that part of ourselves and not just trying to slap some nice mantras over top. Because this is where we really rewire our nervous systems. This is really where we do healing and physical processing so that our body can release. And it's this beautiful symbiosis in our bodies as our nervous system and our brain are doing this work together. It's really amazing. So that's what I got for you here today. It is a beautiful solar eclipse. I think enjoy it. You know, if you can savor it, go for it. Take care of yourself. Listen in, lean in. Like I said, we're going to be doing a gorgeous activation for this solar eclipse on my Patreon, and I believe my plan is for the Scorpio full moon coming up. That's when my new tier is opening up, and we are going to be doing a Zoom conversation right around that total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So we'll be live together, hanging out, having a conversation and activating that. And I'm really excited to see that over on Patreon. So I'd love to see you in that community on that journey. We're going to have such an amazing time. You can also find me on my website and on Instagram. There's only one true Sarah. I know there are always going to be dupes out there. I try to get verified on Instagram. We'll see. One day it might happen. But you can find me on my Instagram, and I think that's it. I will see you all here very soon. We're doing a lot of new things around here in this space. I am letting myself change and grow and explore and stepping out of the same rigid structures in this channel and in this space, and just sharing more of who I am and who I'm becoming in my life here in Sweden. So I would love it if you would stick around, subscribe, hang out with me. Let's see what happens. I'm going to be sharing a lot more of just this space blob existence that is weird. It's weird. And I'm not alone. I know you're out there with me. I hope to see you in all those places. I love you. Have a beautiful beginning to eclipse season, and we will chat very, very soon, my friends.